Thank you for all your hard work, which has led to this great day. And it was amazing to see how excited the customers were to receive their car. It was just super good vibes. And I think it bodes very well for the future of Giga Berlin Brandenburg. And I think it's worth remembering that every car that we make is a step in the direction of a sustainable future. Yeah, the thing about this factory and the cars that we make is that it gives people hope about the future. And it's very important to have reasons to be excited about the future, because often people are depressed or sad about the future because they think it won't be good. But what we're doing here is with every car we make, with every battery we make, we're making the future. What you're doing really matters. It makes a difference. And I'm working on the master plan part 3, and it's a huge, yeah, it's gonna be good. But a huge part of that is scaling to high volume. So in order for us to really affect the world in a positive way, because we get a lot of press, we get a lot of attention, but if you say how many vehicles have we made as a percentage of total vehicles in the world, because there's 2 billion vehicles in the world, so far we've actually are well below 1%, we're not even 0.5%. So it's essential for us to really affect the future in a positive way. We have to make a lot of cars. That's the only way. And this is that's why we call it a Gigafactory. It's very big. And we're starting off with the Model Y, but we're going to do a number of exciting additional vehicles here. And so I think this overall is just going to be a center of excellence for sustainable energy in general, and it's really going to help the world. I look forward to doing it with, and yeah, once again, thanks for everything. So yeah, if you guys have some questions or something. Great thanks to the Supercharger team for enabling long distance travel. It's very impressive work that the Supercharger team has done. So I'd like to give them a hand as well. Yeah, in addition to the work that we do here, we also inspire and encourage the rest of the industry to go towards electrification. And I think it's fair to say that without Tesla, without the work that the Tesla team has done, that the rest of the industry would not be moving so quickly towards electrification. And that's also why we open sourced our patents. We made our patents freely available to the other car makers, because it was the right thing to do. No other company has done that, as far as I know. And it's just, we really try to do the right, and we want to be a company that you can believe in your heart and soul. And in order to do that, we must be the company that does the right thing. So, I love you guys too. When is Tesla going to South America and maybe some other markets? We definitely want to go to the world. The challenge we have right now, it's a high-class problem, but the orders we have are well in excess of our production. So sometimes people will say, why aren't you in all these other markets? And why don't you make all these other different versions of the product, like different cars? Like, where's the Tesla semi-truck and the Cybertruck and other things? But the challenge we have, it's a good challenge, is that our orders far exceed our production. A high-class problem. We need to have our production get to the point where it exceeds our current orders, and then it makes sense to expand to additional markets and to have additional products. Because if we add complexity, but we don't add volume and we don't add production volume, then we've not actually done anything more, because the good is a function of how many vehicles we're able to make. So as we are able to ramp up production and satisfy demand in our existing markets, then we will expand to other markets, and we will also add additional products. And I think, last year there were a lot of supply chain challenges with chips. Everyone knows about the chip shortage. And then this year there's still some chip shortages, and then next year will be, I think, probably a challenge with total battery production. And then certainly if you start going like 2-3 years out, it's all about total, how many gigawatt hours of battery are produced. That will be the limiting factor. And then going even further down into the supply chain, what is the rate at which battery materials are being mined and refined? And obviously we want to do that in an ethical and environmentally sensitive way. That, in the long grand scheme of things, is how many terawatt hours of battery can be produced per year. Our rough calculation is that it's about 300 terawatt hours is needed to transition the world to a sustainable energy economy. There's a lot of batteries, basically. So we want to try to do as much of that as possible. And I think we're actually doing a pretty good job. Like, we're growing, 70-80% a year on average, and maybe even faster than that in the future. Yeah, so that's, I think, the answer to why not more markets and why not more products. I'm gonna get cooked by the sun, by the way. I'm not very sunproof. So in terms of what am I most proud? I think I'm most proud of the amazing work done by the Tesla team to scale to scale at the rate that we're scaling and make compelling products that people love. When you think about it, how many products can you buy that you really love? It's so few. And it'd be great if people made more products that you love. And Tesla is a rare company that actually makes products you love and makes people's, that they brings them joy every day. That's great. And if you look at our rate of growth, Tesla is the fastest growing company in history that makes a large manufactured product. So the next fastest, I think, was the Ford Model T, like that was 100 years ago. And we're actually growing faster than the Ford Model T, which is crazy. So, yeah. So Model T. With respect to colors, which colors will be available from this factory? Colors are always a challenge because when you think about colors, you don't need to manufacture it, but you also need to service it and fix it for 20 years. So, you've got to think about, what are we going to put the service team through managing all these colors? So we have to be careful with total number of colors, but we obviously are going to make some special colors here because, and it's more than just the color itself, but it's the layers of paint in order to get the dimensionality. So we're going to make a really special red, which I think, probably a lot of people have seen. It's like a 13 layer layers of paint. You want to have the layers give you dimensionality and give it makes the color look deep and complex. And then we'll also have a silver that's also, I think, not as many layers, like maybe 8 or something, but it's still going to be really special. It's like a liquid silver and a deep red, I don't know. Deep complex. So we're going to make it starting off with, soon, in a few months, we'll make the special sort of deep dark red and quicksilver. Really cool. They'll be like the best color. I think they'll be the best paint on any production car that's not made for a show or something like that. And you have to design the paint shop especially because if you're going to do 13 layers, you've got to have 13 steps. So it's very difficult to retrofit a paint shop. You have to design it in from the beginning. And that's one of the things that, thank you. I don't think we're going to be using graphene, but we will use graphite. So there's plenty of that. Graphite's just carbon, basically. So in a special form of carbon. But yeah, I think the battery materials, for long range, it'll be a nickel-based cathode. The cathode is really the important part. They all have lithium. And lithium's only like 2% of the nickel will be the one for long range, which is currently what we're using. And then for standard range, it'd be iron phosphate. And I think there's an interesting potential for manganese. And the important thing is that if you look at very large scale, you have to say, okay, we need tens of millions of tons. It's like maybe hundreds of millions of tons ultimately. And so the materials that are used for batteries at very large scale must be common materials. They're not common materials, you can't scale. Graphene, I know everyone loves graphene, but it's, maybe we'll use it at some point, but graphene is a difficult thing but even graphene is made of carbon. Anyway, the fundamentals of scaling batteries are just say like how many millions of tons can be produced and produced in an ethical and environmentally good way. And I'm confident that we can scale to global volumes by using iron phosphate and a manganese cathode and then a nickel cathode for long range. So FSD beta Europe, I think we're getting to the point where the FSD beta is very good in the US and later this week expanding to Canada. And then I think we'll be ready to show it to regulators in the EU, I don't know, maybe in 2 or 3 months. But then we've got to do quite a lot of work for all the special case situations in Europe. And the roads, as if you've driven around Europe, the roads vary quite a lot by country. I mean, maybe the EU, but the road rules and the way the lines are painted, and it's different. And then you've got to recognize all the different languages. It's quite difficult to do full self-driving in Europe. It's much more complex than, say, the US or Canada. Yeah, no, there's a lot of little tricky things. The rules are not the same. But I think probably we can start doing beta maybe later this year, I think, in Europe. Yeah, it's depending on regulatory approval. Yeah, things are a little different in the US. Like in the US, things are legal by default. And in Europe, they're illegal by default. So we have to get approval beforehand. Whereas in the US, you can do it on your own cognizance, more or less. I guess the next target is really to really scale production this year and to try to make as many cars as we can. We want to complete the development of the Cybertruck and be ready for production next year. Hopefully have enough battery pack capability to start the Tesla semi-truck. Hopefully make complete engineering of the Roadster, the new Roadster. And then there's some future projects that are also pretty important. There's also stationary storage, new versions of the Tesla Solar Roof, Powerwall 3, there's a lot of things. So we have a very exciting product pipeline. Yeah. Okay, maybe one or two more questions. Last question, best case scenario. I suppose 10? I think it's aggressive but not impossible that we could do 20 million cars in 10 years. And that would be a good number because there's 2 billion cars and trucks in the world that are in active use. So 20 million would be then 1% of the global fleet per year. Yeah. All right. Thanks again, guys. All of you.